Good morning. I noticed that a few of you had not turned in the assignment for the commercial. That's, of course, the very first assignment that you were going to turn in for creating a commercial. So I wanted to touch base with y'all, just kind of get a feel for what's going on. I know there's not a lot of you at home, so it may be a little harder, of course, to make this commercial just because you're doing it on your own or hopefully with somebody in your family. But of course, most importantly is getting this first piece done so that I do know that you understand how the commercials run. The whole point of these commercials is to apply the knowledge that you have about what makes advertisement worthwhile, what makes it important, how persuasive it can be, of course, because that's the point of media literacy, right? The whole point is that we understand how they affect us. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the document real quick and talk about it, and then hopefully give you a little bit more clarity about what I'm expecting from it. All right, so let's go ahead and get rid of this. And so now what we're doing right now, we're looking at the assignment that you were supposed to complete. This was, of course, given on Friday. It's called Commercial Creation. And so I wanted you to read this top piece first because it is important for us to know what makes a commercial effective. So some of the things that hopefully you picked up when you were watching the other commercials that I had you watch last week was that persuasion is necessary. Pathos is in almost every single commercial. But of course, the others, ethos and logos, are also used from time to time, more often ethos than logos. I think the only commercial that used all three was the Porsche commercial, where they talked, of course, they made you feel something, right? The whole point was to make you feel like connected to the little boy who wanted the Porsche, as well as the ethos, because Porsche is a well-established company, so they have an authority on the topic, and then logos, because at the very end they provided information about like the engine, the transmission, they talked about the horsepower, all of those things. So those were ethos, pathos, and logos. Also important is that the length matters. 30 seconds to a minute, and 30 seconds is about the range that you want to shoot for, because that's about the time span that people will pay attention to, especially when it comes to a commercial and you're trying to sell them something. Color, text, and music all play an important role in this, because if you don't have the correct music or the correct font or the correct colors, you tend to like distract your viewer. You know that, if you had a really, really sad song over a really happy video, it would make no sense to the viewer, and things like that. And then, of course, you can sell a product, an idea, or a movement, or a combination of them. Most of the commercials that we saw were selling both a product and an idea. So then I made a typo right there. It's supposed to be group. Your commercial can be completed alone, with a partner, or with a group, of course, with you guys specifically being at home. Most likely it'll be alone, but of course you're more than welcome to include a family member, or if you have somebody else living in your home that you want to include, you're more than welcome to do that as well. So your very first steps were this section, right? What are you selling? So what idea, movement, or item are you selling? How long is the commercial? Remember, cannot exceed 1 minute and 30 seconds. How much would your commercial cost if you were airing it locally? That's in San Antonio. So all you have to do is Google that. They literally give you a number and you just have to do the math. And then the same thing for how much would it cost if you were airing it nationally. And then the depth questions, which are honestly the most important part of this assignment, is what is the purpose of your video? Is it to convince people that the product, idea, or movement is the best, or are you trying to convince them that your competitor's product is not as good as yours? You really have to think about what your goal is for the commercial, because that's where media literacy comes in handy, right? Knowing that you're influencing your viewer. And then, which of the persuasive techniques will you employ to make sure your purpose is clearly expressed to the audience? Of course, we know you're going to use pathos regardless, but which other ones will you use? And most importantly, how are you planning on using them? And then how will the length you chose for your video affect the impact it has on your viewers? If you're only doing a 30-second video, it means it's going to be really, really quick and really fast-paced. Is that going to make a bigger impact than if you had made the commercial longer? And then last but not least is this script section. This is a brainstorm. So you are going to write out your script, right? You're going to include the sound. So like if you say John walks onto the scene, right? And then you say music begins playing in the background. This is the entire script for your video, but you can change it. You don't have to stick to this. Once you start making the video and you realize, I didn't really like that, you go back and change it. You'll turn in a second script. This is not permanent. This is not going to require that you follow it to a T, but I do expect that whatever you write here on the script is going to be something that you do plan on at least using to guide you. You're not going to turn in this script and then do a completely different commercial. So that's just something to think about. So now that I explained that to you, hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. I do expect this to be turned in by tomorrow because it is already late. It was due on Tuesday, which was already open. Also, some of you did not take your map test when I posted about it, even though I did send a reminder about it as well. So you will most likely be getting a call from the school about taking the map test at a certain time, either next week or the week after, because we have to have it done by the end of January. I think that's about it. You're going to be working on that, and then you're going to start making that video ASAP. So tomorrow you're going to have some more instructions about making the video, how to send it, all that stuff for my class specifically, because you can't send it via OpenLMS. It doesn't work very well, unfortunately. But okay, so hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me a reminder. I'm available. I am happy to answer them even throughout the day, okay? So I will see all of you guys soon.